When I was a kid, there was no video games. And so we played with something we called slot cars. And actually, my mom was the one that actually introduced me to this. Okay, so the slot cars are actually kind of cool. Plus, it's all electrical. And so anyway, you have these braids. That's 2 wires that are underneath. You're doing well. Keep going.
How come is there at this slot, there's 2 slots?
Yes, there's 2 slots. You're very observant. There are 2 slots. There's an inside lane and there's an outside lane. Right now, you are on the inside lane, but as you go around the track, if you notice, occasionally you're going to be on the inside too. Who did that? All right, you're good. It's still it's too tight? You sure? Is it okay? All right. A little tight? You can handle it? All right. That's kind of like been my philosophy, you know. Put others first, make sure everybody else is comfortable, make sure that they're having a good time, make sure you're taking care of family and friends, and then your life is going to be just terrific. And I've been blessed. I mean, I seem to have just this terrific life. I mean, I can't think of anyone who gets paid to play.
Every time that I say it's PE with Coach John, they say, yeah, let's do this.
I would say what makes him unique is probably his kind of like unconventional creativity, the fact that he's been doing the same job for what, like 25 years, and he can still keep coming up with new things to do every single day.
I think he just grows every time he interacts with children.
You know, you're sort of at that age back then when you're looking for an adult other than your parents to be a role model. You know, there's always that guy that you want to kind of follow around and you want their attention and you want to be like that person. And he was that person, like I said, literally to thousands of kids.
When I come to you with my eyes wide open, I know you will tell me the truth. It'll all be fine. We'll remember these times, live up to the dreams of our youth. Together we see through shared experience, a way for the good life to be. Close my eyes, imagine my past, the early days, they move so fast. A life is shared and forever will be, and the story is here to see. Story is here to see.
Okay, girls, you gotta stand up. And one guard.
One guard.
One guard. One guard. One guard. Okay? That's fine. That's okay. Are you watching me do this? And I only do this every day. Yeah, so the kids will come outside and go, can we have the mats? And it's like, yeah, you can have the mats. Can we have music? Yeah, you can have music. Can we build a fort? No! Everybody has to share. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
What defines Don is the good-naturedness of the man. He's a magnet. There's an energy that is attractive, and I think people, no matter who they are, if they've met him, if haven't met them, they just move towards him. I don't know what he personally thinks. He might every morning think, oh my God, I can't take this anymore if I see one more kindergartner. But he never gives that off. He just he just looks like he's just living the dream in a way. He can be surrounded by just stresses and aggravation and people venting about you. It might be parents on the playground, it might be, who knows, family stresses, kids in high school, and he's just listens. He just gives off this calming, he doesn't let things get to him.
If I were to think of someone as a role model to not only the students and also colleagues, that would be Coach Don. Children, when they're playing and the way they argue and the way they're trying, what they're doing is they're trying to learn and they're trying to discover, how best to do this, especially something that's a competitive thing. And he takes that energy and he can create it into anything, and you can tell it just makes him, a stronger person. I know that when we have kids that are struggling and they talk to him, they don't want to disappoint him. He will also have very positive and caring things to say, enough so that they actually do calm down and talk to him. And it's kind of magical, because not many people have that skill, especially if their kids are in distress.
Don is very kind. He looks for ways to have fun and be kind at the same time. I feel like that's sort of his driving force when he works with kids especially, but not just kids, adults too. He finds ways to really communicate and on a deep level and make it really fun. So being his wife is quite an adventure. He just does nice things for people, kids especially. Like, I'll be going through our bank statement. I'll see these charges at Safeway for some amounts that are too small for me to have gone shopping. He doesn't usually do the shopping sometimes. And it's, he got candy for this classroom or that classroom where it was really hot, so we got popsicles for him and just kind of sneaks them in there. That's just kind of how he is.
He's always been true to himself. He's decent, he's honorable, to use a word I think that's used a little too glibly and thrown around a little too easily these days, is the Yiddish word mensch. And that's what Don is. He is a true human being. He's a true man.
He doesn't really consider himself an academic person or necessarily artistic, but he's just completely brilliant when it comes to creating games and things that will appeal to children. And he's also really athletic, which he didn't pass on to either of us, unfortunately.
No. We worked at a sports camp with him, and we did this event called the Equestrian. And kids had to make up routines with an imaginary horse and go through this course that he made up. And it was just hysterical. Him and his best friend were the judges, and they're just rolling around on their backs laughing hysterically.
He's really good at making everyone else around him feel really comfortable. Also, he has a certain sensitivity that's kind of underlying that also helps with his playful spirit and being able to connect with other people.
He has the type of personality that you can feel good about getting behind him, because it's like you're in good hands with Allstate. With Don, I mean, you know that if you follow him and if you do what he is encouraging you to do, and if you really throw yourself into it, you're going to turn out better for it. He's a good man, very simply put. He's a friend, and I'm proud to know him.
Oh man, I had this amazing childhood. So I grew up in the 60s in San Francisco, and my parents, grandparents, they owned a flat in the DuBois Triangle area. It was family oriented, so there were just lots of kids. And when you think about, Sandlot baseball or Sandlot sports, that's what we had.
All the kids came out, and you got a black eye, and you got hit in the head with a ball, and no one was worried about suing anybody, and you just played hard.
When we were younger, you could be outside all day and do stuff and not have to worry about where the adults are. So he's had years of playing with kids outside, but as a kid and as an adult.
Growing up, he got a lot of enjoyment out of just playing and being with people and things like that. And while there were challenging things that he absolutely went through, I think that kind of what got him through was playing.
My grandmother was this amazing woman. She was the one probably who did a lot of the stuff as far as me just playing ball. She made sure it was possible.
He grew up with his grandmother, who really wanted him to be a very respectful and respectable young man, and he's now a respectful and respectable old man.
Growing up with his grandmother, who loved him with a fierceness that is, kind of rare. He grew up Southern Baptist, pretty serious, big community.
He would probably say his grandmother, who I'm actually named after. My middle name is Nelson, and her last name was Nelson. She was a firecracker. She didn't put up a lot of stuff, and I think that's where he gets a lot of his sense of humor from.
His grandmother often taught him, important life lessons, I think, but not in the sense of telling him exactly what it was, but rather putting him in those scenarios.
But I remember my grandmother taking me to this boys club, and this guy, Don Ueda, he was the director at the time, and I was about 10, and he says, you guys are here, want to tour the club? And my grandmother says, you want to take a look at the place? And I was pretty shy, and I was like, well, no, I just want to get my stuff, and I want to go. She goes, no, let's walk around, let's take a look around. So we're walking around, we're looking around, and you look out and you see the play field, and it's like, wow, this is an actual field. And looking at the gym, I'd never been in the gym before. I was like, wow, this is the gym. That was just like one of the best times I had as a kid growing up, just remembering the boys club. My first job was through them. And so I remember I wanted to work in the locker room, because I thought working in the locker room was so fun, because you controlled all the equipment that was going out to the playground, and anything was going in the gym, and you could have a kid working with you. Every time I think about that, the boys club now, I just think about that's just the best. And I wish every kid had that type of experience, being able to just go and play and not worry about all the other stuff that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
A lot of the things he learned there, he has adapted and moved into his work now. So the games that you'll see him play with kids on the yard when he's out there look a little like those games, that they've all been modified depending on where he is. He's able to switch it up pretty quickly, so they become sort of Dawn and not Boys Club.
In fact, the Boys Club probably did a lot for me when I went through this transition at home. My mom, who didn't live with us, in fact, she was on the East Coast at the time, came back to the Bay Area, and she wanted to take my brothers and sisters and moved to the East Bay. And I think I was 11 at the time, and I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay with my grandmother, and that's pretty much all I knew from when I was being a young child. And I didn't want to leave that. And I didn't. And it probably caused a lot of problems between, my brothers and sisters and my mom and stuff, because I guess it's kind of hard to have your kid make that decision and make that choice, because most kids would choose being with the parent or being with the mom. I chose to be with my grandmother.
He grew up with really traditional, old-fashioned values. I mean, not closed-mindedness, he's very open-minded, but hospitality and respectability.
His grandmother and church are kind of the same thing. She was a very spiritual and religious person. So I would say that he's not so religious, more spiritual, or at least I am, so I project that onto him. But she really made sure that he understood what was important and what wasn't.
An interesting thing about my grandmother is that there's no blood relation. My grandmother pretty much adopted my mom.
I knew Don Burl going back to high school, and I knew him before his name was Coach Don. I just knew him as Don. We played on the basketball team together, and he was an outstanding player back in those days. He was a team leader, he was strong, he was somebody that we would follow into battle.
I think he's one of the most underrated basketball players, or at least high school basketball players that come out of the city of San Francisco. He's that guy, if you go to a basketball game in the city, you go to a pro-am game with him in the city, there's always somebody who knows who Don Burl is. And it's because of playing at the playgrounds or playing in local gyms when he was growing up.
When he grew up in San Francisco, I think he went to Sacred Heart High School. He was an all-league player in the West Catholic Athletic League. He was an all-city San Francisco player. He played basketball at CCSF.
Don worked very hard at improving his game. He was on the varsity for 3 years. I mean, not too many sophomores back in my day made the varsity. He led quietly, but he was a hard-working guy, and he was a great teammate.
His plaque says to Donald, Sacred Heart Spartans, we were called the Spartans, says, best rookie and unselfish player. You are good and will get much better. You have a fine attitude and this makes you great. You are popular with your teammates because you are unselfish with them. This is the beginning of learning to love. Continue to learn to love and to recognize the God in each man, and you will be a great man. It says that when you die, your trophies will mean nothing, only the good that you did and the love that you gave your friend and coach, Steve. And little did I know that when he handed me this plaque, that's the type of life that I was going to end up leading.
Oh, that's easy, rats. And I should probably mention his children and wife, but and I will. But Don wanted to bring back the feeling that he had of the after school, that feeling of just letting you go and playing.
Rats was just pretty much my childhood, and so all the stuff I learned playing at the boys club or on the sandlots and the playground, I just took it all and I incorporated it into Rats.
In the summer times, just being able to kind of know you were going into playing some of my favorite sports, baseball and basketball, but also not knowing exactly what a day would bring was very exciting and made for the most fun summers of my life.
A lot of stuff, the kids had never really done or really experienced before. It's like, well, what's war ball? Well, war ball is a dodgeball game, so teach us how to play war ball. And well, what's stationary? Well, stationary is this game you play, but you don't run bases. You pitch to your own team, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to move the base runners along.
Just joyous play, and you could just pick up any piece of equipment and it became the game. You didn't have to have a lot of money, you didn't have to have all the best equipment or classes or being coached or something.
So for me personally, I think my favorite game was the fusion of Frisbee and capture the flag. You had to run across the other side to get to the restricted area to find a Frisbee and throw it back to your teammate to catch it. And it was just games like that you had no idea exactly how to play at first, and then you just would kind of adapt, and it was so much fun.
And we've had a great run. And so we hired kids. That's one of the things we were going to do, was hire kids who've gone through the program. And so we were able to do that. We were able to do the one thing that the YMCA wouldn't do or couldn't do, and that was offer full scholarships to kids who could not afford to go.
The idea behind it was, if you were going to go outside your neighborhood and play with the local kids, play flag football or something like that, then it would just be a ragtag group of kids. That's pretty much what he was going for, and he did really well at it, and he was able to keep it going, so he still has that.
My older boy said once about the program, it says, that program has connected so many of us. He says, I can be at a party somewhere and somebody will mention Rats. And 15 or so other kids, hey, yeah, I did that, or I did that. Oh yeah, do you remember so-and-so? Yeah. And they could remember everybody's nicknames and certain games, and they'd argue about outcomes of games. Even to this day, 15 years later, they're still fighting about the outcome of a game, which is kind of cool.
I don't think you can also discount the effect that his wife has had on him, Michelle. Michelle is a wonderful human being. She's just a great lady. And I think that, the family that they made, it probably helped keep him able to do the things that he's able to do.
I really don't know exactly what I would have done without her. I mean, I probably would have found my way, but having her just pushing me and and making sure, that the dreams that I've always had have come true. She's been the one.
I heard his kids are pretty great.
No, I think just the fact of him as a father is actually really great. He didn't have a very good relationship with his father, and I think it was really important to him that when he had his first son, that he be better than him. And I think he really has done that. I think he's raised his kids phenomenally. So I think that's fair. We're his greatest accomplishment.
Sean pretty much, he was the only athletic kid out of the group, and he played at Berkeley High. He ended up getting a basketball scholarship, a 4-year scholarship to Seattle University, played there for 4 years. He has taught PE at various schools. He is the athletic director now at this private school in Seattle. He's also the head varsity basketball coach. He does pretty much whatever they ask him to do, and he loves it. And he actually gets to do what he wants to do. And I feel that I played a part in that, even though it's maybe a small part. I played a part in that.
He's got 4 children, 2 older boys. Both went to college. Both have graduated college. One is a teacher and a basketball coach up in Seattle. The other one is an accountant, I believe, down in Georgia. He's got 2 younger children now, one of whom just started college, and I assume that his 4th child is going to be on her way to college. So if you're a parent and you send 4 kids to college, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment.
Ryan, on the other hand, my son who lives in Georgia, loves music. He ended up going to Georgia Southern, played in the marching band there, and Ryan's a big guy. And watching Ryan perform and watching him, march with his drum and dance with his drum, and I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There's parts of me that I see in Ryan. He works hard. He loves being around people. Ryan's probably the only person in the family who probably still parties and loves doing it, and has the best time. One of the things my mom said about Ryan is that, man, he is so happy. He seems to be so happy. And I pretty much am a happy guy. So I'm hoping that, some of that just kind of rubbed off on Ryan.
So the idea that he can be the man he is on the playground and the teacher that he is and still come home and be this father. Anyone else, you'd think they would just like, oh my God, I've got to turn on TV and go to bed.
Jonah was really fascinated with the water and ocean and mermaids, and he won't eat fish to this day because he feels he's harming the ocean or harming a fish. And when I was a kid, I had this fascination with, of course, water. I really wanted to swim. I wanted to be part of the water. And it's amazing that Jonah and I kind of have this connection, even though we didn't really share it too much. It's there.
I just always feel lucky to have such a great dad, which sounds kind of cheesy, but I can see that not everyone has a dad like I do. And people know him and love him at my school because they went to Washington or another school that he worked at, and everyone will tell me how lucky I am to have someone like him in my life, and I really feel it.
Ashley's just an entirely different story. But she's just so damn smart. And I won't say that I've instilled any of that in her, other than the fact that I'm supportive about whatever she wants to do. That she should be allowed to give it a try, and she should be allowed to do it.
You see the way his kids are so comfortable about him, and it's probably not that easy being the kid of Don in a way, because he's a celebrity amongst children, and there's just this wonderful sarcasm and playfulness and just no holds bar, and the kids can be as honest as they can talk about anything in that family, and that's also due to his wonderful wife Michelle. They just have created this nest of honesty.
I don't think he expected to be where he is right now and who he is right now, but now that he is that person who is a big figure in the Berkeley community, he's motivated to be that person for as long as he possibly can.
People still come to him who are 35, 40 years old saying, oh, you made such a difference in my life. And I feel like that's the thing. He's able to connect with kids who sometimes aren't always easy to connect with, but he's able to kind of reach in there and show them a different way and be a role model for them. So I think being true to himself and continuing to affect people's lives, I'd say that's the biggest thing.
Seeing that kid who's having trouble on the playground, or seeing that kid who's having difficulties in a classroom, and you see those first steps of them feeling more confident about themselves and starting to blossom.
Every time that he has a child laugh or smile after a tough game, or it's hot and they're all tired, the next time they come out they're like so happy and they run out to him. I think his accomplishments are what he achieves with kids.
Don really inspires me by how much he's able to give of himself to people who are not so easy to give to. I mean, it's easy to be nice to people who are nice to you, but Don really tries hard to reach out to people who are not. I mean, he gets frustrated and impatient sometimes too, but mostly he really tries to live what he believes is right.
A lot of teachers, they get in a bad mood. I mean, I do it sometimes. And you're just like, okay, not now, or you need to stop. Never. He's laughing with them, or he's listening to them, and he'll stop everything to listen to a person.
He comes into contact with so many people and so many kids. He's not judgmental. He's endlessly patient with these kids. People that are patient are usually people that are taking things in. They're always growing as a human being by the things that they experience and the things that they see.
He can be surrounded by just stresses and aggravation and people venting, and he just listens. He just gives off this calming, he doesn't let things get to him. And so I'm sure he becomes this almost like a rock for people to come to.
He's really good at talking to anybody, from the little kids who talk about fairies and princesses and all that kind of stuff, and to like the high level athletes, to the moms walking on the playground. He just is able to kind of connect with everybody. He knows a lot of information. He just knows a lot of like random facts about things, and he reads a lot and things like that. So it helps him kind of connect with people, and he can kind of speak a lot of people's language.
I learned something from my brother, and he just said something about sometimes you have to do things or say things just to keep the peace. Even if you feel that you're in the right, sometimes you do things just to keep the peace. So that's pretty good philosophy sometimes.
He has one of those laughs that, you could not get the joke at all or what was funny and hear him laugh and then just start laughing. He's just a contagious personality. It's so powerful.
His laugh, it's pretty intoxicating. It's the one thing that I can easily say he passed down to me and my siblings. We all have the same laugh, and it's really boisterous and loud and obnoxious, but we can't control it most of the time.
All he has to do is give a look, catch your eye, one word, and it'll trigger a memory, and you're laughing till you're just sick to your stomach. My partner Rob, he would have days where work was just extra hard, or he was down about something, and he would say, "Hey Carol, tell me a story about Don. Tell me the story when he was just laughing about something." As I got smarter, I started to actually record Don laughing. Rob would just come out of his end of day funk and just be laughing as well.
I had this crazy imagination as a kid, which I could visualize things or see things and want to figure them out. My mom had this back area, and we used to call it the porch area, but it was an enclosed area. It wasn't exactly a porch. It was almost like another room. And for some strange reason, like with my wild imagination, I wanted to create a swimming pool. We got these big, huge pots and pans, and we're filling up this room. And when we were done, we probably had, I would say, maybe a foot or two of water in this room. And then we had to create a diving board, so we piled up all the furniture in this area, and we would jump from this area and we'd land in this water. So my mom wakes up, she knocks on the door, and she wants to know what's going on. And we're telling Rhonda, says, Rhonda, don't open the door, don't open the door. Well, of course, Rhonda opens the door. There's water in the room, and here it comes. Some of the things I did, my brothers and sisters would just think, this is just totally insane, or it's crazy, or, why are you doing this, or no, you're not really a superhero.
Every day was just full of fun activities, and so I think I took that with me, from Playground Rats Playground, and tried to actually instill those same sorts of values in my classroom as a teacher. And to make things fun, to make them structured, to make sure everyone knew they had a place there, and that at the end of the day, they were going to grow, but also really enjoy the process.
Creativity is contagious, and just working around Don, you just, your own brain just starts popping, and you just leave just feeling energized. I hope we're not just sucking all of the energy and creativity out of the man by being near him.
As far as I know, he came this way. I mean, I'd never met anyone that was so good with the kids, that had games that were non-competitive, yet in a way got them to work hard and got them to work together.
Don likes to dress up as villains, usually women villains, for Halloween. Every year he has some costume. It's a big top secret thing till Halloween comes. In addition to that, he dresses up as the Grinch on the last day of school before the break.
My dad was like the master of dressing up, and then also being certain characters. And I can remember he's done this on multiple occasions, but for Halloween one year, he was his grandmother. He not only would dress up exactly like her, he then would act like her and talk like her and walk like her.
He works at Washington Elementary School, and they have a talent show with the teachers do it and the kids do it too. And for his act one year, he dressed up as his grandmother and sang "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay," sitting on the dock of the bay. And he had he did the whole church lady thing with the handkerchief and everything, and it was really great. Everyone had a great time with it.
But he plays it well. He should be in movies.
He likes to dress up. He really likes to put on a show for people. I think, that's one of his really strong qualities, is that he's kind of an entertainer.
One of the kids was giving him a hard time saying, Coach Don, you always dress up like a girl, you always dress up like a girl. I think it's his chance to kind of explore everything, but also his one chance to be really mean, but it's all a joke. He can mistreat the kids, he takes the air out of the balls as the Grinch and tied up all the jump ropes and made the tether ball really short so only he could hit it. And most of the kids laughed it off. A couple got upset.
Other than the city, which I'm still close to and I still love visiting, this is my home. I love it here. I love the politics, I love the people, I love the community that I live in. I've been here long enough, there's not a place that I don't think I can go in Berkeley that I don't know someone. I'm walking down the street and somebody says, "Hey, Coach Don, how you doing?" Or in the supermarket, and, "Coach Don, how's it going?" And it's kind of nice because it's almost like being a celebrity in a sense.
There are often times when we can't walk a block without kids walking up to him and saying, Don, how are you, Don? And there's just happiness on their face. And this happens hundreds of times, when I've been with him. I mean, you just literally can't walk down the street in Berkeley or Albany and not have kids run up to him.
We had gone to Mexico for his 40th birthday. There we are in Puerto Vallarta, and I hear someone yell, "Don Burl!" I'm like, no way. He's famous in Berkeley and Albany, but there we are in Mexico and somebody knows him. It's like, no way. So we were laughing about how famous he was. And then we're walking down the streets of Puerto Vallarta and people keep saying, "Hey, California, California." And he's like, how do they all, he really was felt like he's like, how do they know I'm from California? It's like, your shirt said California on the front. He didn't realize. They thought that he somehow stood out.
When Don got married to Michelle, he asked me if I would be best man at his wedding. And at the time I thought, it's like another joke that we always would have, and it's like, no, he's being serious. And it was so special, and it was before, everyone was, the rules were changing. It was like, wow, best man that's a girl, that's unbelievable.
I don't think you can discount the time when he was doing a lot of this. It was just when Title IX was coming into effect. They were trying to organize women's equality, especially in sports. And he would run these camps, and the camps would all be co-ed. And he would have the girls participate just as much as the boys did. And it was kind of amazing to watch the girls. He made it comfortable for them. And by the end of these sessions, these girls were just as aggressive and just as intense, just as into it as the boys were.
He's made me not take myself so seriously, partly because he laughs right in my face at me sometimes. Almost to tears.
I guess the one thing that everybody has in common, my older sons and my younger ones, and I guess my wife included, is that I tease them, and they hate it. I often say, you'll tease us as we hate us, but you're so mean when you tease us. And so they know that if they start on me, that they're going to get the worst of it in the end. But they got me. And my son, Sean, who's 30, recently was married in May. And so it's been a while since I had all 4 of my kids together. So we're at this party, we're all sitting around a table. They go, Dad would sit there and he would tease us and said, but you ever watch Dad eat? I was like, what? He goes, oh yeah. So when you eat, man, it sounds like, anything goes in your mouth is like it's in an echo chamber. It makes this horrible noise. And they all started laughing. They go, you kidding me, right? And they go, no. And they just went on, and just story after story, and me sleeping on the couch and them throwing stuff at me. And you've gone bald, Dad. You have no hair. You've gotten old. You're slow, and on. And I just realized, it says, this is me. This is me.
As I've gotten older, I often, am in situations where I want to behave a certain way or do something that is selfish. And then I kind of think about what my parents would want me to do or what my dad would do in that situation. And one really great quality that my dad has is that he's able kind of to just walk away from a situation that makes him upset or makes him angry. He doesn't hold on to things for very long. He's really good at just moving on.
I do know he has a man cave though. Maybe he goes into his man cave after a while. That's what I hear. So it could be the man cave that motivates him. Sometimes you need the quiet so that you can boot.
I can see how extroverted he is in social situations, which helps me to try to be a similar way because it's always been hard for me. But when he's by himself, he prefers his alone time, and he's secretly an introvert. And I've always been not so secretly an introvert, and seeing him be able to push past that and be social and friendly has really helped me to do the same.
When I was little and I was at that sports program, me and one of the other kids got in an argument over something stupid. I can't even remember what it was. And we were just calling each other names back and forth and being pretty mean to each other. And he decided that as punishment, we had to hold hands and walk around the playground a couple of times, and so that we would become friends again. And it worked. We were laughing and giggling the entire time. It was funny. I think that was something that my dad always tried to instill in other people is just be a good person, be nice. You can joke around and have fun, but not at the expense of other people.
He really attracts his people and inspires people. I think he's just a really big-hearted person.
I would suspect that's the huge motivator for Don. That very honest, basic love of people.
There have probably been thousands of kids who have come through his program. If all of those kids that looked up to him and loved being in his camp and wanted to be around him, if they learned one little thing, one little thing about this is how you act as a person. This is just how you act. This is the right way to act in a particular situation. If all of those kids learned one little thing, it's a pretty amazing impact that he's had on the world. and in his local world.
I made him promise that he's not going to retire until I retire. I can retire first, though.
What are some of Dad's greatest accomplishments?
Greatest accomplishment, first one is his son, Sean. His second is maybe his daughter, Angeli. No.
He makes amazing games, and he's just really nice in general. He's a great coach for the school.
Coach Don knows everybody, knows who they are, you know, and he speaks to their heart.
He's really the heart and soul of the school, and then he works with every single child in the school and comes to know them all by name, their likes, their dislikes, and just really helps kids develop to their full potential.
He's a very nice dude. He's a very nice dude.